me out in V like, but don't talk it all. That's really not the truth, I just don't fuck with y'all. I'm only with a few and yeah, my circle's small. Or either by my Danny Ruger in my drawers. Ain't trying to be no tough guy, it's just time race. The softest niggas gangster in the mid-state. My grandma said you lose, you better fight again. At the age of 13.
What's going on? What's going on? How y'all doing out there? We gonna go right into it. We ain't gonna do intro music or nothing. We got another great show for y'all today. You are tuned into Convo with a Boss. It's great being here. I have two beautiful ladies, of course. I got Toy the ATL Vegan, but I also have a special guest for the people that's out there interested in the last show that when we was talking about credit, and then we was talking about getting jobs and homes and also apartments. But now we have somebody with an expertise. Or Toy, go ahead and do the pleasure and introduce tonight's guest, please.
I'd like to introduce my bestie since I was 14 years old, Micjelle Rosser, and she's with Maximum One Realty. So she's going to lend us her expertise tonight on the do's and don'ts of home buying. She's also going to tell us how to get prepared to purchase a home. And she's also going to touch a little bit on does credit repair work, which is one of the questions that a subscriber asked. And also, is it a good idea to take out a loan to pay off credit cards that you owe or that are delinquent? So thank you, Micjelle, for joining
You're
us tonight.
welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. We first off, we got to say thank you to all the subscribers and everybody that's been tuning in. We have just launched a week ago on the different platforms like as you can see back behind us, Stitcher, Deezer. We're on Apple
Wow.
Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, and we're actually streaming kind of high to be actually we had like maybe like 10,000 on Spotify. I still haven't checked the Apple streams yet, but I think Pandora, I think we had like a couple thousand. So people have been tuning in, spreading the word. Yo, thank you. Thank you.
Thank
We had
you.
20 some thousand. I don't have the right number.
Wow.
I think it might be 24,000 right now. So we
Yay.
steady grinding every day. Want to appreciate y'all. And like just continue to support the movement. We're gonna have merch coming real soon.
Very
Um,
soon.
so just continue to spread the word. Convo with the Boss on all platforms. You can check us out. New show every week.
Yep.
And you know how we do. So first off, welcome, Micjelle. How you doing?
Thank you.
Um,
Amazing.
so many questions coming your way. First off, why don't you tell the people exactly what you do and where are
Okay.
you located at?
Okay. I am a real estate agent in Atlanta, and I have been in real estate for 19 years. And before I became an agent, I was an investor. And that's something actually I would like to do more of. Stayed away from that for a while, but I work with anyone. I'm going to say at least, within an hour of Atlanta. And that's for someone who is buying or selling homes. My favorite clients are first time home buyers. I love starting the process with them. Sometimes it's almost emotional when they sign on the dotted line. So they're my favorite.
Okay. So, Tori, why don't you go ahead and start it off? What's the most requested question that people might want to have for a realtor that's looking to buy in today's market for a home? What are some of the questions that you may ask if you were buying a home right now?
So I think one of the questions that I touched on at first was does credit repair work? And also, Micjelle, I'm sure one of the biggest questions is how much money would it take either as a down payment
Mhm.
or how much money, what steps do they need to take to find out how much money they are able to borrow in the
Okay.
home buying process?
Okay. So credit repair, I'm gonna start with that. So everybody has a different opinion about credit repair. And for me, I believe that the person really it's better if they do the work. than to hire someone and pay someone. I would rather someone research what to do, or just receive information about what to do, because credit repair, a lot of times what happens is they dispute everything, and it doesn't look good when you go to apply for a mortgage that everything's been disputed. So sometimes what happens is when they dispute it, at first their credit score goes up. But then after time, it will go down, and it may go down really before they even get really started with the process. I had someone who had did credit repair, and the lender told them, look, what you're doing is illegal to dispute things that really belong to you. Like, for example, your student loans. Credit repair people will tell you, yes, you can dispute that. That's federal debt. That's actually breaking the law. So, yeah, you can do it, but it's not a good idea. And so, with the mortgage, because it's a little bit different, it can be a problem. So, credit repair, if you're trying to buy a car or maybe an apartment, it may be a little bit different. But when you're buying a house and the lender looks at your credit, they're going to see that you disputed all those things. And they're going to ask you, well, why did you do that? Um, did it really not belong to you? Tell me. So they're going to want to know an explanation. So sometimes a person can get away with it with just an explanation of why they did it. But most of the time, sometimes people are disputing things that are so old, there's really no point. So really, I feel like I like it when people actually just talk to a lender, because the lender is the one who talks to them about their credit, and it matters. An agent, what we do, we try to assist them, but really we're not the ones who are looking at your credit. We're not the ones who telling you what to do to get a mortgage, but we always have tips to give the person. So I hope that answers the question. It was sort of long answer, but does it work? It's possible, but probably not. In the long run, it is not going to work. It's temporary most of the time. If a person has a legitimate reason to dispute something, that may help. Yes. If there is an so and you talked about the steps to buying a home. So one of the steps I tell the person to do is to order your credit report. It's free. Get your credit report, look at it. Is this information correct? If the information is not correct, you can dispute it, and it's not going to cost you anything. If it belongs to you, then that's a little different if you're trying to get out of it. So,
Okay.
so it's like one of the things that you can do, you can talk to your creditors. That's a good idea to do that. If you're not current, try to talk to them and see, can you become current? And sometimes this one thing I want to say, a lot of times people want a quick fix to something that took years to get to that point. So it didn't take a month for you to get this way. It's probably not going to take a month for you to get out of it. You don't go from 500 to 700 in a month. Do you, Toy?
Nah, definitely not.
No.
Yeah.
Not
So it's a
legally.
so it's a process. And if you want something, it should be worth doing the work to get what you want.
So there are no quick fixes. The home buying process, how from beginning to end, Micjelle. And I know you can't give me a specific like amount of time, but
Mm.
what does that home buying process look like from start to finish?
The time, how long
The
does it
amount of
take?
time. Yes.
So yeah, you're right. It depends on the person. Because if a person comes to me ready, they can close on a home as soon as they find a home. So as soon as we find something. So it could be 40 days. It could be 3 months. It could be 6 months. It could be a year.
Okay.
It just depends on how ready. And so when we say ready, we're looking for somebody who has decent credit. If you have like a 640 middle score, you're ready. If
What
you
does
got
middle score? Break this down to me like I'm a sixth grader. What's a middle
the
score?
middle score. So you're going to have three different scores. You don't just have, so you got Equifax, TransUnion. So you got three different bureaus, and whatever so they don't take your high score, they don't take your low score. They take whichever one is in the middle. And that's the score that they're going to qualify you on.
Okay.
Yep. And so with the process, so if you have the credit, if you have some money saved. So during this time, there are a lot of different down payment assistance program. Some people qualify, some don't. So you either got the money in the bank, or you're going to have to, or we can help you find some type of assistance and your job. It's better if you have been working for at least 2 years and they're going to use your income. If you have overtime, a lot of times they don't use that. If you have a second job and you just started it, they don't use that. If you got a side hustle, they definitely not using it.
Okay.
Okay. So when going into this, how much money would you say you were going to put down, or should you have saved away for just a down payment or a partial of a down payment?
Okay. So the down payment, the lowest down payment, if you have to pay it, is 3.5%.
Okay.
So, for example, if it's not a $200,000 house, but that's just an easy number for me to do. So
Mhm.
that's like $7,000 that you would have to have for your down payment.
Okay.
But to buy a house, you also have closing costs, and those closing costs are things that the lender charges, your taxes and insurance, just whatever it costs to close on the loan. That could be another 3 to 5%. Hopefully not 5%. But so it's very expensive to buy a house. That's why, to me, the first thing that a person should do is get their money right. And they should save money and figure out, how can I save? Because even if, let's say, we're able to get you money for your down payment, you're
Right.
still probably going to have some closing costs. Sometimes we can get the seller to give you money for your closing costs. So there have been deals that I have done where the person didn't need a lot of money, but you will never know this until you get started. And so that's what I start with. Let's get started. Let's, one, save some money, because you're still going to have some things that you're going to have to pay for. And let me just, talk a little bit about that. For example, no one's going to buy a house without doing an inspection. And we're just going to say that's going to be $400 to $500. So let's just say it's 500. Then you're going to have an appraisal done for the lender. That's another 500 or more. So that's $1,000. And once we find a house you like, we're going to need you to put a little money aside that says that you are serious. We call that earnest money. And we're going to need probably 1%. So on a $200,000 house, that's $2,000.
Okay.
So up front already, and nothing has happened.
We're at $3,000.
Yes. So that's why a lot of people don't buy a house. They don't have discipline.
So if you save this money,
Mhm.
your middle score is, you said 640.
Yes.
What is the next step after that?
After you have and you've saved your money, and that is to apply for a loan.
Okay.
Yep. Get with the lender. And what happens? Well, I say that, but also it's a good idea to go ahead and find a real estate agent, because one of the things that the real estate agent does is guide you throughout the whole process. And so once I talk to someone, I find out whether or not they do need down payment assistance, and I make recommendations of lenders depending on the type of money that they may need to buy the house. So I just help them along the way.
Okay. All right. Cool. So now, do people come? I would say this. What is the biggest, I guess, reason that a lot of people do not get homes or their first time applying? Is it the
Um,
credit, or is it the down payment, or is it something else?
a lot of times it is the credit. It is
Okay.
the credit. That one thing right now is that people look at their credit score on like Credit Karma and Credit Sesame. Well, unfortunately, those scores are not the same score that the lender pulls. They go directly to the credit bureau. And sometimes the number, sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. And unfortunately, what happens is, once someone is told, you don't qualify, a lot of times people just give up. And so that's why it's good to have a good agent who can encourage you and say, hey, well, let's see, what do you need to do? And then, we'll keep in touch with them and help them to make those steps so they can become an owner. So sometimes I think, one of the biggest things that happens is that, they told no and they just give up. They don't actually do what needs to be done to buy that home. And then years later, they regret that decision because, you know, rent is going to keep going up no matter what.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
So let me inject this. Okay, so Cuddy and I were talking about on our last episode how to keep track of your credit with Credit Karma. But what you're
Mhm.
saying is during the home buying process, they go through TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian to pull the
Yes.
credit scores. Okay, so those are the three main credit bureaus that they pull
Hmm.
from.
Hmm.
Okay, so but they can keep track of what there shouldn't be
Yes.
a whole lot of difference between your credit score with the three bureaus and Credit Karma. I mean, there may be some difference, but that's where the lender is going to look, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But it
So
gives them an idea. That's why I like it. It gives them an idea of where they are.
okay, and it helps you track it. Cut it now. We're talking about that, but we'll use
Yes.
Credit Karma. Okay,
Hmm.
so what we want to tell them is don't get discouraged if your credit
Yes.
doesn't meet the 640 that Micjelle is talking about. What
Hmm.
she's saying is you have to start somewhere, and it's not going to be a quick fix. It's not going to be a microwave process. That's not what it's going to be.
Yes.
Okay, Cuddy, go ahead.
So, what was the longest you ever worked with a person trying to purchase a home?
The longest that I worked with someone, I want to say 5 years. It took them 5 years to get it together.
Well, good for
And but
them.
it
They
was
did it.
worth it. They they only had to bring, I want to say about $800 to closing. And
Okay.
they were able to buy a 5 bedroom, 3 bath home. So they were so excited. And they said, I should have did this a long time ago.
So, what was the biggest obstacle in their way? Was it the credit, or was it something else?
Mm, I just feel like they didn't get started. They kept, and so once they did get started, then they worked on their credit. And
Okay.
then what they did was put some money in the bank. Because I always tell people, even if I can get you down payment assistance, nobody buys a new house without wanting something new. Save
Mm-hmm.
some money.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely true.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
So,
that particular person had some things on their credit and they disputed them. And they worked like let's say that it is if it's less than $2,000 total, I tell people just leave it alone. So sometimes, so one of the things that she did was waited it out. So after 2 years, some of those things just wasn't important anymore.
mm,
Okay.
And so we left that alone once she did that. And then she, something she was able to dispute. So once her credit score went up, then she applied. And then it was just looking for the right house. And that took, I'm going to say, a good 7 months for her because she really wanted a big house.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. I did want to get to that question where the the person wanted to know, should they take out a loan to pay off, I guess, debt or credit cards, or just try to consolidate it. Is
Yeah.
that a good idea, or is that something they should stay away from?
Well, it's only a good idea if the person doesn't go out and create new debt.
Okay.
And the debt is the same. It doesn't, just because you consolidated it, you still got the same amount of debt, because what the lender is going to look at is how much debt do you have compared to your income. So just because you consolidated it, that didn't do anything. You still got the debt.
Mm,
And so let's say you consolidate and your interest rate is cheaper and you can pay that debt off quicker. Then I'm going to say yes, that
okay.
would be helpful. But but then what happens is, as soon as a person does that, they go out and create more debt because now they're able to charge on those same cars once
So
they
that's
pay it
where
off.
that's where the discipline comes in.
Yes. And so sometimes that's what people are doing too, is they're trying to reduce their debt. So they don't have bad credit, but they have so much debt that they cannot buy the house that they want. So sometimes a person will apply and the lender would say, okay, I can get you qualified for $175,000. Well, there's nothing to buy for 175.
In this market, and this is
No,
in today's market.
no. So I got somebody right now has just been really working on paying off their debt. And so every time they pay out their debt, they're able to buy more house.
Okay. So Micjelle, can we touch briefly on the income to debt ratio so that the viewers will know what that means?
What they do is they take your income, they divide your income by your debt. And I'm not going to say what the number is because it depends on the type of loan it is.
Mm-hmm.
So just like you ever hear when you're trying to make your credit better and they'll say only have like 10% debt, 30% debt. So those numbers are also important when you're trying to buy because they don't want you to have a lot of debt.
Okay.
So so and there's different ways not different ways, it's only one way, but I would say checking out a video from a loan officer that tells you exactly how to do it. But what you really should be concerned about is just reducing your debt, and
Period.
not you know you should not buy a house if your credit cards are maxed out. That just makes no sense. So it's simple
Okay.
things like that. That's what they concern themselves with. If they can get at least 50%, like example, if you have a credit card for $1,000 and you get it down to 500, those are the things you should be trying to do. And if you can get it to like 30%, that's even better. And your credit score is going to go up. And the important thing about that is your interest rate will be better when you buy a house. So you're helping yourself. So it's better to take the time and do it right.
Okay. So, Toy, you just said something that it got me thinking. When you said today's market, what does today's market mean to the people that don't know what is that meaning right now?
Okay. So Michelle tells me all the time that it is a seller's market, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Tell our viewers what that means, and then you can touch on today's market and
Mhm.
what okay, so let's say pre-pandemic, the amount of house that you could get for whatever you qualify for versus what you get today when you qualify for the same 275,000 or 300,000.
Mhm.
You can
Yes.
touch on that.
Okay. And so in today's market, and we say it's a seller's market, it's because of the amount of inventory. Before the pandemic, we had more houses available. And during the pandemic, it was very slim. And then the interest rates were cheap. And so houses went for a lot of money. A lot of people made a lot of money during the pandemic. Well, we're past that point, but the prices are still high.
Mm.
And so some of the, people who may would have sold their house, they don't want to because they have an interest rate that is so cheap. Some people have an interest rate of 3%. Well, right now it's almost 7%.
Hmm.
So
Those
those people
days,
don't want to sell their house.
yeah, those
So that's,
3% interest rate days are gone.
yes, they're gone. And we don't believe they're ever going to come back. Like it's just something that doesn't happen. So in today's market, we don't have as many houses available. We don't have as many what we consider affordable. Um, that I sold a lot of houses to single females, and Toy knows that. I've sold a lot of houses to single females, but now you have to make more money because the prices are higher. Sorry about that. The prices
Right.
are higher. So it's hard for people. So during this time, and what you could buy before the pandemic for 250,000 would have been a very nice home. A very nice home. But now things have changed because the prices have gone up and they are more starter homes because they wasn't starter homes before the pandemic. You could have a very nice home. So when we talk about the market and what's going, it all boils down to supply and demand. So right now we have people that want to buy, but we don't have as many houses. But one of the things that, a lot of people buy when we don't have a lot of houses is new homes. but the new home prices are very expensive. So this current market, the problems that we're having, the prices are very high, and some of these houses are not in good condition, because people just want to get rid of them and don't. A lot of times, sellers, this happens that they don't want to do the work; they just want to get rid of the house. Used to be, I felt like people, try to get the house in the best condition possible before selling it. But right now, not in our current condition. So when she's talking about the market, it just depends on what's going right now during this time. It doesn't matter what happened 5 years ago. It doesn't matter what happened 2 years ago. It's right now, this moment. Interest rates are like 7%. The average house is over $350,000. You need at least $100,000 to be able to buy that house. So a lot of couples or sometimes families are buying houses together.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. I just want to say this to the viewers. Um, Micjelle just said that you can't buy the the amount of house has decreased tremendously pre-pandemic,
Yes.
post-pandemic. I would not let that discourage you as a home buyer.
No.
I know that when we start looking to purchase houses, we always want more house for our buck. But the truth of the matter is sometimes you have to start small.
Yes.
And I will tell anyone that my starter house that I purchased in 2004 was the best investment I made because it makes me some serious money. And I couldn't be more thankful. Oh, and I owe that to my bestie because I was renting an apartment and she said, "Are you ready to move into a house?" And I was like, "I don't think so." So we had that talk that she always has with her clients, and turns out I was able to qualify for my first house, and then I purchased. And then as I told you guys last episode, the where I am now is my second home, and she was my realtor, and she walked me through this process. It was a very quick process actually because again, I was unaware that I would qualify for this house because it was not a traditional loan. Correct, Micjelle?
Well, I mean, it was a traditional home, but the thing is that
A
you already
traditional
owned a
loan.
home.
A traditional loan.
Yes, it was a traditional loan, but it's more to do with you already owned a property. So a lot of people don't realize that they're able to use that house as almost like collateral.
Ah, okay.
So they use your income and that house that you own and the income you were getting for a rental. And so you have done something that is very few people that do, because they don't think about it like that. So Toy, you thought about it as an investment. And a lot of people don't think about that. So something else that you said, when you buy a house and you buy a starter home, it's like people have forgotten about that. It's okay to buy a starter home. You took that starter home and you made money off of that house. And what I tell some people is, your first house is probably not going to be your dream house. But let's say you buy that first house and you don't decide to rent it, but you decide to sell it and you built equity in that house. You get to take that money and buy a bigger house.
Yes,
So
Lord.
yeah, so that's what I try my best to. If I could say anything to people, just get started. Just get started. And that house that you're dreaming about, you can have it.
Mhm.
Everybody that I have closed on a house in this last 2 years walked away with six figures.
Mm.
6 figures. So that's at least $100,000. So you tell me, how many people got money sitting $100,000 in their savings account?
Mm-mm.
Not
That
too many.
many.
Yeah. But that house is almost like a little savings account. Almost. You know,
That
it
house.
yeah,
Listen.
so I'm glad that you said that. In this market, it's a little bit harder, but if you want some, you just gotta work for it.
Hmm.
So I'm in the Midwest. I'm seeing a lot of people buying property and putting manufactured homes on those.
Mm.
So with that type of market, if I tried to resell it, how is that? Is it the land that's giving me the income back, or is it just the neighborhood? A lot of people want to know about, like, when they say bringing down the property value, what does that
Mm.
really mean?
When someone says bring down the property value, um, it's a mindset. And some people prefer a house that's on a foundation, and some people don't. And the people who do think that that's more important, they think that their house is worth more than someone who comes in with a modular type home. So I think it just goes back to tradition. And now, one thing that has happened is that most of the time, but I don't think this is the case anymore, is that some of those homes didn't last long, but I feel like they're building them better now.
Mm.
They're building them better. So when someone says you're bringing down the property value, they're saying that because of the house that you have and the house that I have in the neighborhood, my house is not going to sell for as much. But that's an opinion. That's an opinion. Now, let's say there were homes in the neighborhood and people weren't taking care of them. It doesn't matter if it's a trailer, if it's a house. What people like is to be in a neighborhood that they feel like is nice. So you want your neighbors to take care of whatever they have.
Okay. Okay. All right. Cool. So a lot of people are scared, it sounds like, that making that commitment to buying the
Yes.
house. They're trying to get over that fear. Maybe I guess they figured that they don't want the rejection as far as their credit. A lot of people don't want to know what their credit actually is. You said you worked with somebody for 5 years.
Hmm.
To say I come into your office and my credit's shot, what is the first step that you would tell me to do? It's besides going to look at my credit and trying to figure out.
But that's what you have to figure out. Well, how did you get there?
Well, they
How
give me
did
no
you?
choice.
So that's what you do. You figure out. And to think about now, this one thing about credit, yeah, it's shot, but it's not a forever sentence. It is
Right.
not a forever sentence. It can go up, but you have to build. And that's something it seems like I'll talk to someone and they'll say, I want to buy a house. I'll talk to them next year. Well, I'm still working on it. I'll talk to them again. I'm still working on it. And you say, well,
Right.
what are you doing? Because you got to build. You should not have the same credit score for 3 years straight.
That's
You
true
got
though.
to start over. You got to cut the bleeding and say, I'm going to pay my bills on time. I'm not going to charge something that I can't afford. If you can't pay it off, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be honest. If you can't pay it off in a month or two, you really can't afford it.
Yeah.
So a lot of
She,
us are living above really our means. And
right.
we didn't used to do that. We used to be more of a cash society,
Right.
but we don't do that anymore. So if someone sits down with me, so most of the time I try my best to get them to go ahead and apply just to see where they are, see what the lender says, see what the credit score is. But if they know it is horrible, then I'm going to say, do you have any credit cards that you can charge on? And if they tell me no, I say, save money and go get you a secured credit card. Let's start building.
Mm. Okay. Okay. Okay.
I'd like to inject. We touched on this last episode when I said, and I spoke to Micjelle before I did that episode also. Um, there are no quick fixes. If we can just touch on that, whenever you're building anything, the foundation has to be solid. That goes for your credit too. So if we could emphasize anything, that it's not going to be a quick process. Don't be afraid to start over. Sometimes you have to start over, sometimes,
Yes.
but you have to start somewhere, and then
Yes.
don't get discouraged because
N-
it can be a very lengthy process.
And let me ask you a question. How many years do you need somewhere to live?
Forever.
Forever.
Forever. So does it matter if I buy a house this year, next year, 2 years from now? Does it really matter?
Nah.
Because you're gonna always need a place to stay. So
Right.
sometimes it's like I said, we're in this microwave type society. I want it now. I want it now. I
Mm-hmm.
want it big. I want the best. Let's just get started. Let's build
and
wealth. Let's
and
build
I
wealth.
And I have a question also, Micjelle. If someone is in the market to purchase a home,
Mhm.
should they purchase a new automobile first? Or should they ride around in their hoopty until they are in a better position to get that house,
Mhm.
generate some wealth, and then purchase a new vehicle? Touch on that, please.
I would say if you don't have to buy a car, then don't. Because what happens is when you buy a car, it's a big debt and you're going to have it for years, and that increases your debt. So
Mm.
it would be better if you could to buy the house and then buy the car. Because if you buy a house, that means your credit is good. And that means when
Mhm.
you buy that car, you're going to get a better deal.
So doctor on that hoopty for a little bit longer until you can get your
Yes.
credit together and get your house.
Yes.
A lot
Yes.
of
Get
people
you a
are
cash car.
a lot of people are driving really, really good, pulling up
Yes.
to apartments, paying rent. Rent is in Atlanta. I've said it. Rent is astronomical in Atlanta, people. So if you're trying to generate some wealth, listen to us. We are here to empower. There is no judgment. We're not judging here. We're just trying to help us. That's what we're trying to do.
Yes. Yes. So delay gratification so that you can have something better one day, so that you can leave something, if you would like to your heirs. A lot of us don't do that.
Now, is there a such thing as a fixer upper? I hear a lot of people talking about those.
It
Do you
is a
recommend somebody getting that?
I don't recommend a first time home buyer because it's a lot of work and a lot of money. So, but if it's a house, let's just say what I tell people, like, let's say the house, the carpet wasn't the best or the paint didn't look so good. Well, that's something you can do. So that's the type of fixer upper for a brand new buyer. But if it's like anything to do with the major systems of the house, unless you got money, don't do it.
Mhm.
Let's say you try to get a loan to fix that house up. Well, the interest rate is higher. You're going to pay more money and there's a lot to deal with. So you got to, if that's your thing, but there's just no, just like huge deals out here, just because it's a fixer upper. It's like you're buying somebody's problems for real, for real. That's what you're doing. And I don't know if that's a good idea if it's your first time at bat. If you've done this before, then okay.
Now, the roof and plumbing is usually very costly. What are some of the other things that they should look for when they going and inspecting these houses?
Well, the major system, like you just said, and the heating and air is another thing that's a big ticket item. And so you don't, you want to make sure that all of the major systems are intact and working. You hope things like the hot water tank is not too old. After 10 years, then it could die tomorrow. It could last 10 more years. We just don't know. And that's
Mhm.
why they're going to have an inspection, because a brand new person doesn't really realize these things. And they'll let you know, are there any problems with this house? And you get to decide, is in Georgia, you get days to decide, is this house for me? Am I
Mhm.
willing to do these things? Sometimes it's minor things, you know, the screws from the door is missing. I don't know. The hot water is draining slow. I don't know. Sometimes they're little things, but if they're big things, meaning the systems of the home, then that's when a person really got to look at it and see, would they be able to replace the heating, the air, a hot water tank, the plumbing, a roof. You got to see if the house needs to be painted. See, that's something you can do over time. You still can live
Mhm.
in the house.
Mhm.
Flooring, you still can live in the house. So you just, it'll be good if you have a plan in place of what you're going to do. I always tell people too, when they buy a house, is to have an account, because sometimes things go wrong. Sometimes things do break, and it's a good
Say that.
idea if you got some money set aside for that for your house.
We just talked about this. There needs to be an emergency fund. Now, people, we know that we live in a society where the economy is so terribly expensive. But if you're going to be a home buyer, there
Mhm.
is, I'm trying to see what happened in my house, Michelle. Oh, yeah. We had to get the roof replaced. We had to get the hot water heater replaced, but the hot water heater was 20 years old, everybody. So
Yes.
it actually lasted 20 years. So you can just look forward to, some minor things, but then some things may be a little bit more expensive. And then Michelle, the seller, will either make an allowance to get that fixed, or either they will fix it if once the appraiser says, that something major is going on with the property, right?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And that's why the buyer can walk if the seller won't do it. And sometimes what it'll be like with the HVAC, they would with the AC, it's working, but it's old. The
Mm-hmm.
seller's not going to replace it.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
They may give you money towards your closing costs if they decide, but it's up to them. It's their decision. But if they want to sell their house, a lot of times they will do some of the things that need to be done, or
Mm-hmm.
they'll give you money for it. Now, if you have a loan like an FHA loan, that's the Federal Housing Administration, if you have that loan, they believe that the house needs to be move-in ready and that there should be no safety issues. So a lot of times a seller will do those things, but sometimes it's things like um, there's a leak or there's dry rot on the paint outside. I mean, the wood outside needs to be patched up or replaced or something like that. Then the seller usually will do those items. But when you get back the inspection report, it's usually a lot of things on that list. But some of the
Mm-hmm.
things are very minor, and the seller's probably not going to do it. But you can ask, but they're probably not going to do it.
Okay.
So I'm on Facebook recording live while we doing the show. So I'm actually getting a question from Treese. Treese wants to know, she's engaged and she's thinking about buying a home with her fiance. They
Mhm.
haven't got married yet. Is that a good idea or should she wait?
Well, should she wait or should she do it? I mean, I feel like you got to know the person that you're with. And to me, you want to make sure that you have the same financial goals. So if she buys it now or she waits, either way, she's going to own that home.
So
Either
I guess
way.
I got a question about for her and you at the same time.
Okay.
Say her credit is good,
Okay.
A1, past that 640 you was talking, right?
Hmm.
But his credit is dragging. Should she get the
Hmm.
house by herself or should you know?
She's probably going to have to get it by herself on the loan. The loan would have to be in one person's name. But I don't mind. I'm going to be honest. I don't mind if it's in that one person's name because what some people do is they'll buy that starter home with one name.
Mhm.
And then when it's time for them to upgrade, they'll sell that house, take the proceeds, and then they'll buy something together while the other person works on their credit.
Okay. Okay. All right. Tracy says thanks.
You're welcome.
Oh man, that's a lot of information. A lot of y'all are getting right now. Y'all are getting pretty much free game. Um, for to this is going to change your life. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you're really thinking about settling down and actually finding a home wherever state or wherever you at, this is information you can take wherever and apply it to you. Um, one of the key things I think you said that I just can't get over is just start. Just start.
Yes.
Don't wait. Just start. So you don't have to buy the house today. Now, what I am seeing a lot is a lot of people are trying to keep up with the Joneses. A
Ooh,
lot of people are watching social media, seeing these people
yes.
houses built from the ground. They want that lifestyle. They might have got full with the pandemic money. Who knows? But you don't have to live that. Your race is going to be your race, and that's it.
Yes.
You're going to travel at your own speed, and you don't have to get it done tomorrow. Because when you get it done tomorrow, then what you gonna say? I need another house. I need
Mm.
another mission. So you're gonna keep following trends. So you just pace it. Do it. Do it yourself. Do it. Find
Okay.
out, get all the information, and then apply it. You don't have to.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And don't be afraid of a no. So sometimes people don't even apply. So I had someone come into my office. This is one of my favorite stories. And they said, Micjelle, we've got to move. We're renting a house and they're going to sell it. We got to find somewhere. Can you help us find a rental? I said, sure, I'll look for a rental, but please let's see, can you buy first? And they tried and they were able to buy. So and within those 45 days, they were homeowners. It was such a beautiful story because they didn't think they could do it. And so I loved it. All it took was for them to try. They were scared, but I was right there with them. But I love it that because sometimes that's all it takes. So sometimes people think that they're not ready. And actually, we find ways and they are ready and they can become a homeowner. So, yes,
So
Get started. Don't be afraid to apply. If you gotta know, that's what you got right now too. You gotta know. If you don't try, you gotta know. If you
Right,
so you could get a yes, but you get nothing if you don't even try. So
right.
yes, I love that. Let's get started. Let's build wealth. And it just takes getting started. And if they do tell you no, just work on it. It's not forever.
Okay. So I got another question. Well, actually, it's a statement. I would assume. My Shayla says one thing she did when she bought her house was she asked if anybody died or was killed there, and what the family like was before she moved in. Now,
Mhm.
my question to that: does that have anything to do with the price? If you find out that information,
No, I mean you could negotiate, you could try, but most people don't even ask. Most
Mm,
people do not. Very few people ask. So the seller does not have to tell unless someone asks a direct question.
okay, okay, my Shayla, you hear that? You gotta ask now.
Yeah.
I'd like to say, if you're renting, one of the things that will get you started in the home buying process is calculate what your rent is monthly. And each year that you are renting, if that doesn't push you towards home buying, then you probably want to keep renting because by the time you spend 16, 15, 16, 1700 per month, you could have said, okay, let me start the process of getting my credit together. There is nothing that would encourage me to buy a house more than how much rent is these days. Rent is
And
crazy.
and you're never gonna get a dollar back from that, right?
No, nor is it your investment. It's not. So invest in yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, at least if you sell that house, you can get something back. You're getting nothing when you rent. All those years, you're just paying off somebody else's mortgage. That's what you're
Hmm.
doing.
So I have a question: is purchasing a commercial property the same process as purchasing a residential property?
Well, it's not the same process because the amount of money that you're going to need to buy it is one of the things that makes it different. The type of loan, people are more willing, or I'm going to say banks are more willing to loan for a home because that's where you live. They
Right.
Hmm.
know you will pay that at the end of the day. But if it's a business, who's going to get paid first, your house note or your business?
Your house.
So it's hard. It's a harder process. It's a harder process. You need money. You need a business plan. Yes, it's not, the lender is going to want more from you. They want you to prove that your business, that you're in a real business making money and you have done this for some years.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see. Got any more questions? Uh, Darnell wanted to make sure that you asked about the roof and the HVAC system. Twin says any upgrades in the last 5 years. Asks does the roof have any leaks? It's pretty much everybody want to know foundation and
Electrical. We didn't
repair.
say, we did something. We skipped electrical. That's the other problem. Like in older homes. And one thing we didn't say too, when a house has been remodeled, ooh, do not let that fool you. It looks pretty. I always say sometimes they put lipstick on a pig. You want to be careful. You want to know, was that work permanent? You want to ask some questions. So don't get fooled because they got new appliances and everything looks shiny.
Oh, all right. Okay. Toy, did you have any other questions that the people might need to know when I'm coming in buying my first home?
You know, I'm very, very happy that we had you on this show, Michelle.
Thank
I can't
you.
think of any more questions, but of course, I always welcome our subscribers to leave, any questions or anything they want us to address. Now, we said that there was going to be a part one and a part two, and Michelle, I'm so thankful that you joined us. Thank you so much.
So
My
welcome.
my bestie is severely smart, and I'm so proud of her. But if we need to do like a part three, or if you just have any questions, and Michelle,
Yes,
also,
questions.
we're not quite wrapping it up yet, but I want you to make sure that you leave your information so that they can reach you, if they need to. So I don't think I have anything else, Cuddy, that I need to comment on. I don't think so.
Michelle, where can they find you at? If I'm coming in the Atlanta area, where can I when I come and I know I'm gonna get the honest truth and you're gonna work
Uh-huh.
with, where do I go? How can I
Where,
reach
how can you reach me? I mean, I can give my phone number.
you? You can do whatever
Uh,
you want. Give me everything.
and on Instagrams, I'm at Homes by Shell, Chell, on Instagram. And then my phone number is 678-524-3032. And if you're looking for my website, it's MicjelleRosser.com.
Okay. All right. Yo, she basically told y'all, quit trying to get that quick house. Don't do it. Don't do that credit repair thinking you just gonna get it swiped off so you can get this house today. It's not
Right.
gonna work. It's gonna take some time. You got yourself in a hole. You got to get yourself out the hole. So I- thank you for everything. I also hear that your birthday is it something? You know what? I'm gonna step back. Toy go ahead because she do the birthdays. I'm gonna go ahead. Do you think?
So I want to tell, I do it every time. First of all, I said I was going to do something new tonight, and I want to shout out to everyone who's going through some things, whether it be depression, mental illness, whether you're missing a loved one that has passed. I mean, we're going through a lot in this society. I'm in Atlanta, as you guys know, and there was a shooting 3 buildings down from me in Peachtree Center
Mm,
today. 4 people were shot. I eat lunch there a couple times a week. I do bring my lunch a lot. I touched on that, but sometimes I go down to Peachtree Center. I could have been involved in that shooting of the 4 people. So I'm just simply saying, for those who are going through some things, just keep pushing. And even if your credit is bad and you feel like you're in a hole, just look up. If there's light, you can make it. So tomorrow is my bestie's birthday. She already told me what she wanted for her birthday, so I'm gonna make sure I take care of her. And she's been my bestie. She's been my realtor. She's been my confidant. And I love you so much. I'm so proud
love
of
you,
you.
girl.
Thank you for joining us.
You're
Happy birthday.
welcome.
Her birthday is tomorrow, but I just want to say that I'm so humble for all of our subscribers, and I'm so thankful for you guys. So
That's beautiful.
if we can empower you, and if we can give you knowledge, if we can give you game for free, then we're going to do it, because we do need to build generational wealth. And oh, one thing I forgot to mention is that I'm also an investor with my bestie. So if you would like to talk to her about, being an investor in some properties, she does that also. Maybe it's not quite time for you to purchase a home, but if you want to invest in some of the properties, then she can speak to you about that too. So on that note, Cuddy.
I smell a part three coming on. Because we didn't even touch into that. Like the investment groups that buy properties, residentials, and how does that go while filing for multiple people and credit and going into the loan process. Like we didn't even touch on. There's so much we can keep going with this
Right,
topic. Like for real.
right,
Um, I just want to thank you for coming on and giving the viewers a lot of information that they can process. A lot of 'em, a lot of people were honestly just scared, and they
hmm,
didn't
Yes.
know. And you gave them like you pretty much gave them the key, and you opened the door so they can see what's going on before they even get in there. A lot of like you said, a lot of people are scared of being told no.
right.
Um, and I think that's what it is. It's the told no. Because once
Yeah.
they get told no, they probably just shut down and I might as well just stay renting. And then they just go through this process when they could just be building e-
Yes.
instead of just turning their back on it. So I thank you for coming on and letting them know that though.
You're
Uh,
welcome. It
yo,
was definitely a pleasure. I
Thank
love
you,
talking
Michelle.
about real estate.
yo, but Toy, I'm not gonna let you go just yet. We're
Okay.
not gonna break a tradition. We do got one thing to speak. Right now it's the NBA finals.
Yes.
And Dallas is down 0-2.
Hmm.
Do you see this as a sweep, or you think this
I
gonna go seven?
I think Dallas going to win the next 2 games at home. And just so that the viewers know, I bet it with the Celtics and I bet it with the Mavs. So it's a clean wash for me either way, because I don't care since Minnesota is out. But I do like the Mavs. And I'll tell you, I think Kyrie got some get back to get. And I know they're down 0-2, so this is going to make the story even better. So we come on next week, or when we come on, it will be tied 2-2, and then we'll chat some more. Then who you got?
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I got the Mavs. I got the Mavs, and I got a little bit of news. Chris Porzingis is hurt. He has an injury. Don't know if he's out for Game 3, but he is hurt. So that might play a big part, especially when it's swinging back to Dallas. And so they definitely need these two. They definitely need these two.
He, he
Luke ain't
made the
trying to go out
difference
like
in
that.
he made the difference in game one. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Okay.
and Kyrie got to step it up because the last two games, Kyrie, man, he been absent. It's been Luca by himself out there, and Luca can't do it by himself.
Yeah, I got the Mavs too, so we'll see.
All right, so people, y'all know what it is, man. We going for the Mavs. Um, yo, Micjelle, thank you for coming on. Any last words to the viewers or to anybody that's just want to contact you? You already gave your information, but
Hmm.
any last words?
And just if anyone has any questions, information is free. Just ask. And I always tell people there are no bad questions
Hmm.
except for the one you don't ask.
Hey, that's a good one.
That's definitely. What
Yes.
about what about you, Toy? Last words for the people.
We're just trying to give you some knowledge. Please drop some comments, questions, concerns, and we'll get back to you and we'll address them. You can follow me on IG, Toy the ATL Vegan, and we're just happy y'all keep following, keep subscribing, and we're so humbled by you. Thank you.
Okay. I want to just thank everybody that tuned in, people that tuned in on the Facebook Live tonight. I appreciate y'all and your comments and questions. Everybody that's been tuning into the show on YouTube, the numbers that's been going on Spotify, and everywhere you can listen to podcasts, you can go ahead and turn us on. It's Reezy Convo with the Boss podcast, easy to find. And
Yep.
also, I like to say personal. I just finished one more chapter on my book. I got 7 more to go, but still, I'm getting close. I'm getting
but
close.
you
So
but you started. You started.
hey, and that
Yes.
just like this, the home buying process, the hardest part was me starting. I promise, that
Yes.
was the hardest part. But I just kept going. So if you want to buy a home, or you looking into buying another home and maybe turn it into some type of profit, and you want to be a homeowner or a landlord, you got to start a process. You got to start somewhere. So,
Hmm.
like Micjelle said, hey, just got to start. Don't give
Hmm.
up. So, hey, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Appreciate y'all. Love on each other.
Yes.
Man, you never know what the next person is going through. You never know what the
Yes.
next person's struggle is. And we'll check y'all next time. All right.
All
We
right.
holla.
Okay.
Peace.
Peace.
Night.
They see me out in V like, but don't talk it all. That's really not the truth, I just don't fuck with y'all. I'm only with a few and yeah, my circle small. Or either by my Danny Ruger in my drawers. Ain't trying to be no tough guy, it's just how I'm raised. The softest niggas gangsta in